but it makes training oh so pleasurable. It makes it so pleasurable, guys. Now, no sexual innuendo, but you guys catch my drift. An engorged muscle is a happy muscle. Vigorous Steve here with that side enhancement guide you've all been so patiently waiting for. But first things first, we're not going to be discussing side enhancement oils in the form of hyaluronic acid or synthol or anything else that's new and fresh on the market for side enhancement purposes. Because unfortunately, well, that's a poor choice of words. Luckily, I don't have any experience with side enhancement oils and I have no interest in running any experiment with side enhancement oils in the future. I also don't believe in spiking particular body parts with high voluminous shots of steroids. I've heard through the grapevine of old schoolers doing a protocol along these lines, using veterinary grade equipoise organabol, boldenone and desalinate at 50 milligrams per 1 milliliter, and then spiking a particular body part with a shot of 5 milliliters or even 10 milliliters at a time, right? Never tried it, no interest in trying these kinds of protocols, so we won't discuss that in this video. Again, hyaluronic acid, synthol, or anything of the sort is just purely a temporary enhancement of that area. And we won't be discussing compounds like nolotil or aceclene, which I think is no longer on the market, so why bother discussing it anyway? These two compounds cause localized inflammation at the site of administration, but not permanent muscle growth. So we won't be discussing any of those compounds. This video is purely in the context of stimulating collagen synthesis and optimizing muscle growth in the body parts which you're trying to improve. So first things first, let's look there at collagen synthesis from a nutrition perspective. In order to improve lagging body parts, we need to be, you guessed it, in a caloric surplus. You're not going to be building a significant amount of muscle mass if you're not eating accordingly. Long story short, the bottom line is, if you want to increase your muscle mass and improve a weaker body part with a little bit of side enhancement along the way, you're going to have to increase your food intake. And as your muscle mass increases and this weaker body part turns into a stronger body part, hopefully it gets stronger also, allowing you to move more weight for maybe more reps while you're in the gym, your food intake needs to come up more. Nutrition is key because without nutrition, collagen synthesis, collagen deposition, hyperplasia, and improving this weaker body part to the point it looks phenomenal, nutrition is key. Now, nutrition is also a very broad subject, so obviously I can't discuss all of that in this video. Please do additional research. The golden rule here is eat food that you can digest, eat food that is nutritious, eat food that you prepared fresh on the day that you're going to consume it. I'm not really a big fan of meal prep. I prepare everything fresh, sometimes meal by meal. It takes extra time, but at least this way, you know that everything is nutritious and doesn't degrade over time. Make sure you're in a caloric surplus with a super physiological amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. It doesn't have to be a 50% caloric surplus. It can just be a 10% increment as time goes by. Again, if your body weight is increasing, so does the caloric intake increases, and you'll have to carefully manage that as you go along, and weaker body parts turn into stronger body parts. And the last thing I want to remind everybody of is collagen intake. Now, that can be from animal meat-based sources like chicken or eggs or fish or salmon, right? Fish is salmon, obviously, or beef liver, right? Animal meat-based sources contain a decent amount of collagen, and you can supplement collagen on top to get additional collagen intake. Personally, I would take 20 grams of collagen either pre or post-workout. So that's basically peri-workout collagen supplementation. Feel free to throw in another 2 to 5 grams of leucine, or maybe 5 to 10 grams of branched-chain amino acids, or a little bit more essential amino acids, or a whole scoop of whey protein, whether that's isolate, concentrate, or hydrolyzed whey protein. Get some leucine alongside your collagen supplements to help with collagen synthesis and protein synthesis when your workout has completed. Throughout the day, I would recommend everybody to stay on top of their vitamin C intake to help with collagen deposition. Again, vitamin C helps with collagen synthesis tremendously because vitamin C is actually a donor for collagen, being the glycine and the proline molecules. So keep all of that in mind. You want to stimulate collagen synthesis pretty much 24 hours, whether that's from animal meat-based sources, protein supplements, vitamin C, and obviously all of the performance-enhancing drugs, which we'll discuss in this video. I would have a second shake of collagen, approximately 20 grams before bed, because that's when a lot of these side enhancement administrations are going to take place. All right, that takes care of the nutrition. Let's move over to improving the actual body parts through workouts. All of the body parts you don't want to improve that you're already happy with, take it down a notch. It's that simple. You have limited recovery capability. You can't train all of these muscle groups strenuously and hardcore and balls to the wall 24/7. That's why we have scheduled deloads at certain periods of time, whether that's after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks even. You need to schedule your deloads appropriately. And if you want to improve lagging body parts and do some side enhancements, take all the body parts you don't need to improve that are already well developed down a notch by 50%. So that means if your legs and chest are highly developed, a couple leg extensions, a couple incline dumbbell presses and some flies, and you're pretty much done. Yes, it's very boring. You don't get to train 100% on the body parts you don't need to improve. So you save recovery capability. You save your central nervous system. You save your anger and aggression and bolus amounts of performance-enhancing drugs for the body parts that you want to improve and potentially spike a little bit. So let's say, in my case, I'll take myself as an example. Basically, every other body part besides quads and triceps I'm already happy with. Chest can improve a little bit, but I would limit it to trying to improve 2 body parts at a time. So in my case, I would like to improve quads and triceps first. And when that's improved, I can sustain my triceps by doing additional chest work. And then maybe try to improve my hamstrings to match these super ballooned out quads that I've now developed over the last couple of months, right? Fingers crossed, but I don't think it's going to happen for me. I'm just using myself as an example because, I think my bodybuilding journey is pretty much coming to an end. So either way, try to limit it to 2 body parts at a time and focus all of your efforts on those 2 body parts alone. So in my case, I would do quads one day, take a day rest, do triceps one day, take another day rest or 50% effort on the other body parts, and then quads again. So you're basically alternating these 2 body parts with 1 day of rest or 50% effort on the other body parts in between. Don't be afraid. Just train those 2 body parts. So let's say just train quads, rest, just train triceps, and maybe a little bit of rear delts, right, to help with structure and a little bit of mobility, so to say. And then take another day rest and train quads again. And just keep doing that back and forth until these weaker body parts are now stronger body parts. Those developed body parts that you've now been neglecting over the last couple of weeks, they're not going to go away. They might look a little bit less cosmetically appealing, less impressive. You might lose a little bit of strength. But again, you allow these lagging body parts to catch up. And when you get back to the gym and start training every body part with an equal amount of attention, muscle memory will kick in. A little bit of muscle maturity will help you along the way. And those neglecting body parts will turn into stronger body parts. And hopefully, fingers crossed, make everything look super duper balanced. And then let's briefly also discuss some low-hanging fruit, which is also important to bring up these lagging body parts. Make sure you sleep enough, 8 to 9 hours, maybe even 10 hours, especially with the pharmacology involved. You might be sleeping 9 hours in the evening at night, and then maybe you have a 2-hour power nap. It's not really a power nap, it's just a full-blown siesta nap. But you'll be sleeping a lot. Again, you want to be facilitating all of the recovery while you're sleeping and make sure you're on top of your nutrition while you're awake. And of course, train balls to the wall for those 2 body parts you're trying to improve. Remove all of the stress from your life, whether that's financial stress, relationship stress, school stress, work stress. Stress will reduce your gains. So the best thing you can do to facilitate gains is remove all the stress from your life. Easier said than done, but you'll be thankful that you did. And then when you're at the gym ready to go to work, make sure that you focus on time under tension, proper execution of the movements, full range of motion. Make sure you structure your workout accordingly so that it's a proper execution of particular exercises in succession. Train balls to the wall, but not too high volume. Again, there's only so much you can recover from. If you're not training any other body parts besides the 2 body parts that you're trying to improve, you can obviously handle more volume and more sets to failure. But it really depends on your genetic makeup, your individual response to particular exercises, your nutrition, obviously the pharmacology, how many hours you can sleep. So I can't give you a blanket statement of 6 hardcore working sets, 2 failure and beyond, or 12. That really depends up to you and your ability to recover from that kind of abuse. If you want to know more about structuring progressive overload style workouts, sign up to trainedbyjp.com. It's probably the best website out there for progressive overload and how to structure workouts, improve lagging body parts, and get access to all of the information that Jordan Peters has accumulated over the last couple of years, working with himself, working with clients, working with all of the members on his membership site, the trainedbyjp.com website. Man, it puts Wikipedia to shame. So sign up there if you want to learn how to recruit every single muscle fiber that you have for phenomenal workouts. What I can give you is an ultimate pre-workout stack that we'll briefly discuss in this video. I'll put it on the screen so you can follow along. Consider to take 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams L-citrulline. That's actual L-citrulline, not L-citrulline malate, in which case you need to take 6,500 up to 13,000 milligrams of L-citrulline malate to get a comparable amount of actual L-citrulline, between 5 to 10 grams. That helps with the disposal of metabolic waste products. 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams of beta-alanine in case you enjoy those butthole itches. Again, it will give you some paresthesia. Personally, I don't enjoy that, but maybe you do, to help with lactic acid buffering in the bloodstream. And otherwise, you can consider something like an injectable carnosine, which does that to a much greater extent without the butthole itches. 2,500 to 5,000 milligrams of good old regular creatine monohydrate to give you an additional rep or 2 or maybe even 3, depending on how well you respond to creatine. And it helps with energy production within the muscle cell. You can look into 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams of betaine anhydrous to help with muscular hydration and improve your pumps, or 2,000 to 10,000 milligrams even of glycerol stearate, which does the same muscular hydration and helps with pumps tremendously, especially when combined with electrolytes, like 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium and maybe 200 milligrams of magnesium bisglycinate, or some sort of other hydration formula. I mean, you can mix all of this with coconut water, which has a nice balance of electrolytes, a little bit of carbohydrates, which should ultimately help with muscle hydration and pumps as well. Look into nitrosygene or Vasodrive AP, patented formulas for pumps, sodium nitrate or another nitrate formula which supplies nitrate besides the sodium, which ultimately help with the pump. Right? Keep in mind that the pump doesn't really result in actual accrual of new muscle tissue, doesn't improve lagging body parts, but it makes training oh so pleasurable. It makes it so pleasurable, guys. Now, no sexual innuendo, but you guys catch my drift. An engorged muscle is a happy muscle. Let's just put it that way. So look into all of the pump products and feel free to combine them in any way, shape, or form, or just take all of them. Right? You get a phenomenal super pump, especially when you sprinkle in a little bit of anadrol later on. Look into 200 to 400 milligrams of ubiquinol in combination with 250 milligrams shilajit fulvic acid to help with its absorption, and maybe 20 to 40 milligrams of PQQ, which is an abbreviation from an impossible word to remember, but let's give it a try anyway. Pyrroloquinoline quinone. And it only took me 20 takes to get that right. These three, in combination, will help with ATP synthesis in the mitochondria, specifically within the heart. So we'll notice that you get increased oxygen output and cardiovascular functioning, allowing you to train significantly harder and become less fatigued towards the end of the workout. I already discussed many of these things in other videos. I'll link them at the end of this video so you can do additional watching, so you can get educated a little bit more. Consider 5 to 10 milligrams Cialis pre-workout, and consider 2.5 to 5 milligrams Nebivolol, which is a beta blocker to keep the heart rate down, so you supply all of the energy for the heart with a combination of ubiquinol, shilajit, fulvic acid, and PQQ, and then you keep the heart rate down, shortening the rest duration between working sets, allowing you to send an additional hypertrophy response, because now your heart is no longer the limiting factor, it has plenty of energy, heart rate comes down quite fast, and now you can punish the muscle to your heart's desire. And if that's not enough, well, there's always injectable adenosine triphosphate, 25 to 50 milligrams intramuscular pre-workout, which might cause you to hyperventilate slightly, But man, once you go to the ATP routes, the amount of energy that you will have available during your workout is nothing short of legendary. Consider to have 1 can of diet tonic water to supply quinine to sustain electrolyte balance within the mitochondria and help with hydration of the muscle and electron-ion exchange to supply sufficient amounts of ATP. And you'll also notice that diet tonic water with its quinine content will help you to prevent cramping towards the end of the workout and make you feel like you have a little bit more energy towards the end. And then there's always 5 to 10 grams of sodium bicarbonate to remove the lactic acid buffer within the bloodstream and allowing more metabolic waste products from the skeletal muscle to be detoxified through the bloodstream. Again, there's a pH buffer in the blood, which you're now reducing or increasing, right? Sodium bicarbonate is very basic, and metabolic waste products are highly acidic. So you have more of this acidic metabolic waste products to be excreted, allowing you to train at a higher capacity. All of this, look into, it will take your workout to the next level, and that's what's required to bring up weaker body parts. Then when you're done with all of that, all of this hardcore, strenuous, and punishing workouts, get your deep tissue massage therapy sessions in place. Ideally, 1 hour post-workout. Doesn't have to be directly post-workout. Allow for a little bit of inflammatory response post-workout. Again, you might be doing some administrations to improve that lacking body part with side enhancement. So you might want to do a deep tissue massage therapy session at the end of the day. Let's say you go in the morning to train your quads or your triceps. Then maybe 6 to 8 hours later, you schedule your deep tissue massage therapy session on that particular body part and the surrounding tissue. So if you were to do deep tissue massage therapy on your quads, you do your hips, your glutes, your hamstrings, your knees, your calves, right? Make sure everything is nice and loose and devoid of any scar tissue or adhesions or bound up places or places that cause you issues, right? If your knees start to hurt because you've been hitting PRs left and right and now the muscle is so tight you can barely walk, get your deep tissue massage therapy sessions in and get your therapy in for post-traumatic stress disorder. Because, well, the stronger you get, the more anxiety you get for leg day also, right? Comes with the territory. You're all going to have to persist. So besides your massage therapist, you might want to schedule a psychologist to get over your PTSD. Look into Graston technique. When you've done a significant amount of deep tissue massage therapy sessions and a lot of the muscle is loose and the blood flow through them is nice and smooth and your recovery improves, your range of motion is better, you don't have any knee pain or hip pain anymore, but you still have a little bit of lagging injuries, like these little micro injuries because the blood flow through particular tissues, particular tendons is a little bit obstructed, a little bit inflammatory. Then look at the Graston technique. That will work out the nicks and kinks, albeit that it's fucking painful, guys. I mean, I do it twice a week, a little bit in particular areas, and man, that shit is brutal. I mean, deep tissue massage therapy is already painful by itself, but it gets better over time as your therapist keeps working through particular problem areas and loosens it up, removes the adhesions, improving blood flow, and improves the tissue throughout. And then that little last spot that the Graston technique needs to be used, using these scraping tools, man, black and blue, and screaming on top of your lungs, begging the therapist to stop, which, well, in most cases, if you're good, you're just going to persist because you need that stuff if you're going to do side enhancement, because many of the side enhancement tools that we have at our disposal cause inflammation and adhesions. I'm specifically talking about testosterone suspension or trenbolone suspension or GHK copper. They will all make the muscle tight and bound up, and eventually they will contribute to side enhancement and the improvement of lagging body parts. But without deep tissue massage therapy and Graston technique in place, that is not going to work. It's just going to make it worse. And while you might get an immediate response and improvement over the first month, if you're not on top of your therapy, it's just going to get tighter and tighter and tighter to the point you don't even feel like training at all because you have zero range of motion. Yeah? So keep it in mind, there's no side enhancement without deep tissue massage therapy and Graston technique. And I think this video is already way too long, so what I'm going to do is split this one up, but I'll release the second part discussing all the performance enhancing drugs in a couple hours. Stay tuned for that. Please don't blame me, blame the guys that get intimidated from lengthy videos. And well, This is YouTube, so the majority wins. Stay tuned for the peptide and performance enhancing drug videos on how to do site enhancement. This should give you a couple hours food for thought. Thank you guys so much for now. The ebooks, you know where to find them. You know where to find me for consultations. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Vigorous. Have a look at the new workout clips channel, where maybe you can get inspired to train insane and improve liking body parts before you get into the site enhancement routes. I'll link all of the supplements which I just discussed in the description section of this video. Don't forget to use those discount codes. A front double bicep for the Vigorous crew. You guys know what to do. Stay tuned for part 2, dropping pretty soon. And until then, well, Vigorous Steve out, and I'll see you in the next one.